there, kids. I'll be right with you. Somebody's making a lot of noise here.
How you doing?
Just a sec. We got a little webcast going here. People just gotta have mighty fine guitars. Hi there, kids. Stevie Coyle here. Nice to see you. Welcoming you from mightyfineguitars.com. Have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. There you go. Can you see everything? Can you hear everything? Let me know. And while you're checking that out, let me pop over and send this out to the other page, the other one. Hi there. Thanks for tuning in. I've not been assiduous about or deciduous about these Friday noontime webcasts just because the last weekend I was sick like unto a dog, whatever that means. I'm not sure what that means. But I was very ill last week, and the week before, just there were too many folks in the shop. This kind of problem I can live with. But give me just a second to pop over to, oh, there we are. Share that, copy the link, go over here. If you got any questions today, today's kind of free for all day. I thought I'd kind of focus, sometimes I focus on big guitars, small guitars, baritones, resonators, that kind of thing. This time I thought I'd focus on the middle of the alphabet and focus on guitars just that start with L and M. See how freaking arbitrary it's getting around here these days? Precisely. Plug this in here and tap that thing and we'll be good.
Hurry up.
Yep, I know, I'm hurrying. Thank you. But so all of which is to say, if you have any questions or comments, pop them right in there. If there's anything on the inventory that you would like to see, lots of stuff has changed here recently in the past couple of weeks. For whatever reason, I don't know if people got their tax returns or what, but there have been lots of guitars sold through the shop, and some cool stuff has come in as well, including one I'm going to show you in just a second, or two actually that I'm going to show you in just a second. I think that's happening. Yeah, sure thing. Good. Well, all right. And do by all means, just for the marketing department down in the basement here of Mighty Fine Guitars Towers, let them know where you're signaling in from, so just so we can see what the market outreach is like. Well, as promised, focusing on guitars that where the builders start with the letters L and M. Today, here's a Lowden guitar. I was a Lowden man myself for many years, but then when the band I was touring with started touring, our very first show was in Canso, Nova Scotia, which is way out there in the weather. And boy, it did everything that weekend. It started off beautiful, sunny, kind of mild. It was tremendous. And then by the end of the weekend, it was raining sideways and just about 20 degrees. It was amazing that it could be that cold and still raining and not snowing. And raining sideways, that was a feature I had not seen being from California. Anti-gravity. So, all of which is to say, I had a Lowden guitar. It was great, but it was a cedar top guitar. It did not stand up to the weather so very well. I spent much of that weekend tuning and decided that maybe cedar was not the very best top wood to go with, and so ended up selling that guitar. I still have visitation rights with that guitar. It's nice when you can sell a guitar to somebody you know. But this is an F32C. This is kind of an OM-ish size guitar with a cool cutaway. It's we've got some nice rosewood and Sitka spruce, and Lowdens have a sort of sound to them. I fancy that in a blind taste test, if somebody handed me a Lowden guitar and I was blindfolded, I'd be able to spot it. They have this kind of, as you know, it's very difficult to talk about sound. Two terms apply natively to sound, somebody once told me, and I think they're right. Loud and soft. And everything else is analogy, metaphor, simile, you know. Loudens, though, have breath to them. It's almost as if there's a bit of an aspirated sound there. Instead of lots of hard edge on every note, there's a bit of a huskiness, sort of. Does that make any sense? And does it come through the microphone? I don't know. Speaking of which, how's the sound? How are we doing here? I know a tendency is sometimes to overdrive. Do let us know, you technicians out there, if we need to turn down the gain. It's not a Martin sound, it's not a Gibson sound. It doesn't have that kind of heavily saturated sound that Martins have. People talk about the Martin sound, and if pressed to describe it, I always say, well, I think it's something to do with the low mid-range. But what it mostly means in practical terms is that strumming the guitar, you get lots of nice saturation. The way all of those harmonics interfere and reinforce each other is very pleasant. It's kind of a warm, woofly sort of sound somewhere in the low mid-range. This doesn't do that. This has got more kind of a more fundamental perhaps, and more in the mid-range, maybe a bit of a smile in the EQ curve, you know? But just tremendous. Lovely sustain, but not too much saturation, not too much reverb, not too much echo. It's entirely manageable. Instead of hitting it hard and having everything kind of combined with everything else and getting full volume right out of the gate, there's a lovely sense of control you have with this guitar. It's kind of similar to the one that Richard Thompson plays. He's a Lowden man as well. Some Lowdens were made in Japan, some were made in Ireland. This is one of the Irish ones. It's one of the good ones too. It's not like I've ever played a dud Lowden, but this one just really has a lovely, clear, sweet voice. And like I say, a bit of that huskiness that comes in there. Maybe I'll come back to this one in a little bit. I'll play some on a guitar that's very different. This is a McPherson, and it is very heavy, which does not mean it has no sound. McPhersons are highly, highly engineered guitars. I don't know if you can see on the camera there, but see how the fingerboard extension here doesn't touch the top at all. It sort of sits right above there. It's cantilevered, and there's a big joint, big metallic joint here that's holding the neck onto the body, which is quite wonderful. It provides lots and lots of throughput. There's all kinds of stuff that's happening. The guitar feels very unified. This guitar has got a lot more kind of the modern sound. I say that with a codicil, and that is that I've never experienced a guitar like a McPherson that sounds so different from above in playing position than out there in listening position. I noticed this with a McPherson we had in the shop here about 3 years ago, and unprompted, a couple of people said, "Here, would you mind playing this for me?" And I'd play it, and they'd say, "That sounds completely different from what it sounded like when I was playing it." And sure enough, I think that's true. But it's lovely either direction. Like I say, more of the modern sound, more heavy on the harmonics and the overtones. Be a lovely alternate tuning this guitar. Some of the with some of the more modern guitars, you've got a lot of guitars that have 1 3/4 across the nut. This is 1 11/16. This has got kind of dreadnought spacing up here at the top. So if you're accustomed to a dreadnought or an electric, chances are a McPherson like this would feel good to you. It's got kind of an open C neck profile in back there. Different overtone stack altogether. Really, really plays differently. This one, everything is there right out of the gate. So you got to kind of pull back. This is sort of like riding a thoroughbred, I guess, where it's all there and it's up to you to decide how much. You don't want it full throttle the whole time. But this is just an overtone monster. Really remarkable. Big, big, big. And the sustain just keeps going. That's really something. People say, now what's the deal with the offset sound hole? McPherson and a lot of other builders, it's not strictly a modern phenomenon. Lots of builders through time have said, the worst place to put a hole in a guitar is in the middle, because that means you have to brace like crazy all around it, because it's completely unsupported. That's where all the stress goes, and that's where you need to brace the guitar to support the fact you've got a big hole there. Well, true enough. If you move the sound hole off to the side, you've got this side of the hole braced already, because the structural components in the sides of a guitar are going to help support that empty space there. And like I say, McPherson is a total engineer. He was in there with the dipoles and the tripoles and the Helmholtz frequencies and the oscilloscopes and all the rest. Very scientific builder and a total engineer, and a beautiful, beautiful guitar. This is one of those ones that, sure, the design kind of shouts at you from across the room and says, I'm new and different. But you get up close and you see some of the fine, fine work on the purfling and the binding here. Just quite remarkable.
And top, metal, there's some stuff that's suitable. But we're on still. Okay, good. Sorry about that, folks. My phone seems to be interfering with things here. How do we do that? Oh, this way. Oh, this is curious. Why that happened. Let me figure that out. So, and guitars. McPherson, I'm going to play you a Latin column next, and I'd probably go back and play a little bit of the same thing on each of these three guitars, so you can hear three randomly different guitars. This was the McPherson. My back. And there's a guitar in the shop here. It's probably appearance-wise pretty accustomed to seeing in lots and lots of guitar shops, much lighter guitar. And as you can tell, probably even from there, it's been really hard to put up neck a few times over the years. This has been a guitar that's been played like crazy. But the big benefit is it's been played in. It has that sound of having been playing it. And the neck has been recently reset, which is one consideration you want to make with a guitar like this. This is a Latin column guitar. Lance was a fine builder, died in 2009. Just for the strange aneurysm, just, his number was up and off he went. But in the meantime, he'd been a builder and a woodworker, and I decided, I'm not getting the sound I want out of guitars that are available out here. I'm Martin, some Gibsons and Gills and all that kind of stuff. So he decided to make his own. And over the years was fearless. He was one of the early proponents of baritone guitars. This is not baritone, this is regular 6-string. And it's GA27, it's number 27, it's kind of early in his career. And it just plays great. This is one that one of our folks from Mensa, which got new, always make sure not to play this one. It's total fun to play. I think it's so past the cat ouch, and we've experienced something very unusual here in California recently. It's rain, is what it is. Some changes that you know, always wears the creeping on the call down and hitch. Not hearing it, we should. Oh, really? Well, let's start over. Let's start over.